So what do you need to know to decide whether they go into independent living, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing? One of the first things you'll need to recognize is that your parent will likely need a progression of care. We're having a conversation about caring for aging parents who have dementia. It's important to say that we are not doctors or experts in any way. We're just two daughters who found ourselves in a position where we are having to care for aging parents, and we were not prepared. Welcome to the channel where we like to discuss some of the challenges we face after 50. I'm Jo, and today we have a special guest who just happens to be my sister, Jackie. And one of the first things we discovered was there's no rule book. We were certainly unprepared. So our hope is that if we share some of our experiences and what we've learned along the way, it will help you with whatever path you are on with your parent right now. Our parents went from rehab to assisted living to memory care and to skilled nursing. Each step of the way for us, it was the facility who let us know it was time to move on. And basically because they said, we can no longer care for your parent. So it was up to us to find the next location, the next facility that would be able to care for them properly. But one of the main things that you'll need to understand pretty quickly in this process is what is an ADL, activities of daily living. Determining what needs your parent may have with assistance in bathing, dressing, transferring,
eating,
continence. And if your parents require assistance with any of these ADLs, then that determines the level of care at each facility.
and if you have a situation like we did, our parents covered for each other.
Yeah.
And so they really needed help dressing and bathing.
With incontinence.
But they were from the generation that there was a stigma attached to all of this, so they covered for each other to the point of exhaustion for both of them.
Right. The important thing to remember here is that if your parent has long-term care insurance like our parents did, they will depend on the facility to document the number of ADLs or assistance with ADLs that your parent needs. They will not pay any benefit until it can be established that they need a certain level of assistance with their ADLs. This is where it got complicated for us.
And this is why choosing the facility is so important, because if you have a head nurse who is rarely there herself and just comes in to weigh your parents once a week, and they get a request from the insurance company wanting to know how many ADLs they have, what level dementia they have, whatever the question may be, all she can really speak to is
that 5 minutes.
Is that 5 minutes that she sees them. And that hurt us, as well as mom and daddy covering for each other. They were from the generation where there was so much of a stigma attached to any kind of mental frailty that
Or physical frailty.
they didn't want anybody to know. So they covered for each other.
It would be my mother who would help my father transferring, get in and out of bed. It would be my mother who would get up in the middle of the night, and daddy would cover for mama in certain things. But this was a critical mistake for them to hide that from the facility and from anyone else, because ultimately it meant the long-term care insurance company
Was not paid.
wouldn't pay. If I had to do it over again, I would be more forceful with mama and daddy in insisting that they be upfront about the level of difficulty they were having managing these daily skills. Many of these facilities will have some kind of a call service where you can call for a nurse or a caregiver to come provide assistance when needed, but they would not press the button.
Some of them have a cord, and some of them it's
A button.
And even though the ladies that worked there would beg them as well, even if you need a light bulb changed, you just push that button.
let us
Don't you try
know.
to get up. We will come help you change that light bulb.
They
But
wouldn't do it. They would not hear of it. It wore them both out. when the facility is documenting what type of assistance is needed, they will often say, now, do you need help with bathing? Oh, no, no, no. Do you need help with transferring? Oh, no, no, we're fine, we're fine. Do you need help with incontinence? Oh, no, no, we're fine.
And whether or not your parents have long-term health insurance, they may not. There is still a very real phenomenon known as caregiver decline.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what happened to our mother.
Yeah.
She wore herself out mentally and physically.
And emotionally. Just caring, because it was very hard for her to see my father decline. And she would be up all night long and all day long watching, waiting for any little thing that he needed.
Listening to him breathe.
I wish we had insisted that they request the assistance that they needed.
But I will tell you this, when we even brought up them staying in their house and having a sitter, before we realized how expensive sitters were, they were adamantly opposed to having anybody live there under their roof, under their feet. They felt as though they were being belittled. And that makes it difficult to then step in and overrule them.
Yeah. They wanted to just continue life as they always had. Like you said before, very competent and capable individuals who didn't need that type of assistance. And in their mind, that never went away. The result of all this subterfuge with the ADLs in the facility was that my mother experienced severe caregiver decline, and I'm convinced that that accelerated her cognitive decline.
Vice versa with Daddy. Daddy was so protective of Mama. Her dementia may have been more easily recognized by
Friends,
and he would protect her at all costs. Same thing happened to him.
And it's a tricky situation because you want to treat your parents with the dignity and respect they deserve. And we were very sensitive to that. So we were always wanting to accommodate whatever their wishes were. And that's not necessarily always in their best interest. And that's a fine line that you have to walk.
Well, because some people would say to us, you're just going to have to take over and do it. Well, you cannot make them go to the doctor to be tested to see if they have dementia, if so, what kind, and whether or not they're going to do anything about it, because it's their insurance, it's their money. So it is a difficult
And
situation.
anybody who thinks that we could make our mother do something didn't know our mother very well. So she was kind of a force of nature. You must get this right. We even hired a senior law care firm to see if we had any recourse in perhaps filing a new claim, explaining the reality of the situation, but it was too late by that point.
What a shame. They spent years
Paying
premiums for their policy, and in the end, they only covered 1 month.
Yeah, nothing for our father.
Nothing.
And they had two different policies. So that's also a whole nother episode that we'll get into later. What questions should you ask the facility if you've decided to move your parent into any kind of care facility, an assisted living facility, a memory care facility, skilled nursing? There are some things that we wouldn't have known, but we just had to learn the hard way. We'll discuss what those questions are and continue our conversation about caring for parents with dementia in episode 4 of this series. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss a thing.